across the endless blue expanse of the ancient Mediterranean, long before the sails of Greece or the triremes of Rome cut through its waters, there moved a quieter, more elusive power. Their ships bore no insignia of conquest, their armies left no scars of empire, and yet their influence touched every shore that met the sea. They were the Phoenicians, the forgotten masters of the tides, the world's first true global traders. From the cedar forests of Lebanon to the far reaches of Iberia, they stitched the world together not through war, but through wind and water, through the language of trade and trust. Today, their story is all but lost to the silence of ruins and the whisper of waves, their legacy buried beneath the fame of the empires they once supplied and inspired. But if one listens closely to the hum of the harbor, the creak of timber, and the salt in the air, the ghost of the Phoenician spirit still sails the currents of history. It begins along a narrow strip of coast, pressed between the towering Lebanon mountains and the restless sea. Here, more than 3,000 years ago, the first Phoenician cities rose. Byblos, Sidon, Tyre, names that shimmered like beacons of trade across the Bronze Age world. These were not cities of conquerors or kings, but of sailors, artisans, and merchants whose lives depended on the rhythm of the tides. Land was scarce, but the sea was infinite, and in that infinite horizon, the Phoenicians found their destiny. With cedar trees for masts and courage for sails, they ventured beyond the sight of their own shores, seeking trade where others saw only peril. In time, their ships would touch the coasts of Cyprus, Egypt, and Crete. Their merchants would carry glass timber and a dye so rare that it was said to be worth more than gold. Tyrian purple, the color of kings. Theirs was a civilization born from movement, not static monuments, but flowing exchanges. Unlike Egypt with its pyramids or Babylon with its ziggurats, the Phoenicians left few grand temples of stone. Their empire existed not on land, but on water, invisible to the eye, yet vast as the sea itself. Their maps were drawn not in ink, but in memory, a network of harbors, winds, and stars. From this fragile and perilous mastery of the waves emerged something revolutionary: the alphabet. Simple, adaptable, portable, a script that broke language free from the hands of priests and kings, giving the power of writing to merchants, sailors, and ordinary men. It was the alphabet that would pass to the Greeks, then to the Romans, and through them to the modern world. In every letter we write today, in every word we read, a faint echo of Phoenicia still lives. Yet even as they connected the world, the Phoenicians themselves began to fade into its vastness. They left behind few records of their own, preferring trade to tribute and dialogue to domination. Their ships were seen in foreign ports, their goods found in distant markets, but their voices, their stories, vanished beneath the voices of others. They became the invisible hands of ancient history, the veins of civilization through which flowed the lifeblood of commerce and culture. Still, their cities endured, and their legacy drifted westward, to Carthage, their greatest colony, where a new generation would rise to challenge even mighty Rome. As we trace their journey, we travel not just through geography, but through time itself. From the sunlit harbors of the Levant to the storm-lashed cliffs of Iberia, from the invention of letters to the birth of global trade, theirs is a tale of courage without conquest, of empire without empire. It is the story of how a forgotten people of sailors changed the map of the world, and how the sea, that vast and timeless mirror, still carries their reflection upon its waves. Between the mountains and the sea, where the wind smells of cedar and salt, a civilization was born out of necessity. The narrow Levantine coast offered no vast plains to plow, no endless rivers to command, only rugged cliffs and a restless shoreline. Yet within that confinement, human ingenuity found its element. The Phoenicians looked upon the horizon not as a barrier, but as a promise. When others built walls, they built ships. Their cities, Byblos, Sidon, and Tyre, became the jewels of a coastline that glittered with sails instead of stone. In the dawn light, their harbors stirred with movement, oars dipping, ropes coiling, hulls creaking as cedar-built vessels readied to depart. The forests behind them provided the finest timber in the ancient world, fragrant and strong. From these trees, they carved their destiny, galleys that would carry them farther than any people had yet dared. Their shipwrights were engineers of beauty and purpose. They perfected the curved hull, the balanced keel, the sharp prow that cut through waves like an arrow through air. The sea became their homeland. They learned its moods, when it whispered with calm winds and when it roared in storms that could swallow a fleet. They mapped invisible routes through instinct and observation, memorizing stars, currents, and seasonal winds. At night, their eyes turned skyward to the constellations, reading the heavens as others read sacred texts. Their navigational art was a form of faith, a communion between human will and the cosmos. Trade was the pulse of their world. From the mountains, they harvested cedar for the palaces of Egypt and temples of Mesopotamia. From their kilns came glass so clear it caught the sun like frozen water. And from the depths of the sea, a small mollusk yielded the pigment that would make them legendary. Tyrian purple. It took thousands of shells to dye a single robe, but the color glowed like twilight, imperishable and royal. Kings and emperors paid fortunes for it, and in its hue, the Phoenicians found their symbol, the color of their legacy. By the 15th century BCE, their ports were crossroads of languages and goods. Egyptian papyrus, Cypriot copper, Arabian spices, and Babylonian textiles exchanged hands in a symphony of trade. No army guarded their routes. Their strength lay in relationships, in trust, and in the silent authority of reliability. Every voyage expanded their horizon. Each returning ship carried more than cargo. It carried stories, technologies, and ideas. They were not conquerors, yet they conquered distance. They were not kings, yet their influence ruled coasts thousands of miles apart. In this era, the Phoenicians also gave humanity one of its greatest gifts, the alphabet. Simple symbols representing sounds, rather than words or pictures. A tool of communication that democratized knowledge. Traders needed to keep records, sailors needed to mark cargo, and scribes simplified complexity into clarity. From their 22 letters grew the alphabets of Greece, Rome, and eventually the modern world. The written word, the foundation of civilization's memory, flowed from the pens of these seafarers. Thus, from the limits of geography, they carved infinity. From scarcity, they built abundance. Their world was a living network of ports and promises, of winds and words. When the sails of their ships vanished beyond the horizon, they carried with them more than goods. They carried the dream of connection. In their wake, they left the first traces of globalization, a human web spun across the face of the sea. As their confidence grew, so too did their reach. The Phoenicians did not build empires of stone and blood, but empires of wind and wave. Their boundaries were the limits of the known world, and even those limits they constantly redrew. Across the eastern Mediterranean, their ships appeared like migrating birds, predictable in season, yet impossible to count. From the Aegean Islands to the shores of North Africa, from Sicily to Iberia, they seeded colonies, waypoints of trade and culture that shimmered like pearls along the coasts. They did not conquer, they connected. In every harbor they entered, they blended rather than displaced. They learned local languages, married into foreign families, exchanged crafts and gods. The goddess Astarte found new names and temples in distant lands. Their artisans taught others the secrets of glassblowing and metalwork. Wherever the Phoenicians went, they left no armies, only ideas. Their influence spread quietly, invisibly, through commerce and curiosity. Among their far-flung colonies, one would grow into legend. Carthage. Founded by settlers from Tyre around the 9th century BCE, Carthage began as a humble trading outpost on the North African coast, but it would rise to become the most powerful city of the Western Mediterranean, inheriting and magnifying the spirit of its founders. Its harbors could shelter hundreds of ships, and its markets overflowed with the wealth of 3 continents. The genius of Carthage was pure Phoenician. Trade, not tyranny. Strategy, not strength. The Mediterranean soon became a Phoenician lake. They transported copper from Cyprus, tin from Cornwall, amber from the Baltic, and silver from Spain. Their caravans met those of Arabia and Persia, exchanging frankincense, textiles, and ivory. Theirs was the first world economy, a web of interdependence stretching farther than any single ruler's domain. They kept their roots secret, for knowledge was their power. The locations of mines, the timing of monsoon winds, the presence of safe harbors, all guarded like sacred mysteries. Greek and Egyptian chroniclers wrote in awe of these purple people, as if they possessed a magic of the sea. Yet their success was born not of magic, but of mastery, of craftsmanship, observation, and trust, built over centuries. The Phoenicians taught that the sea need not divide mankind. It could unite. It could carry culture faster than conquest ever could. As the winds carried their sails westward, they introduced alphabets to illiterate tribes, techniques of shipbuilding to islanders, and styles of art that merged with native traditions. Their gods and myths intermingled with others, weaving the shared tapestry of the Mediterranean world. They were the first to understand what the modern age would rediscover millennia later. That trade is a dialogue, not a victory. To trade is to acknowledge equality. To exchange is to create peace. While kingdoms rose and fell in the east, the Phoenicians remained the steady current beneath the surface, moving goods, gold, and ideas between lands that might otherwise never have met. In their quiet dominion, they achieved something extraordinary, an empire without borders, bound not by armies but by oaths, not by walls but by waves. Their ships became ambassadors of a new human order, one built on cooperation, commerce, and curiosity. Through them, the Mediterranean ceased to be a series of isolated cultures and became what it remains today, a single, interconnected world. No civilization sails forever without encountering the storms of history. For the Phoenicians, those storms came not from the sea, but from land, from the rise of empires that saw in them both utility and threat. Their independence, their wealth, their mastery of the waves attracted envy and conquest. First came the Assyrians, with their iron armies and brutal tribute systems. One by one, the great cities of the Levant fell under their shadow. Sidon burned, Tyre resisted, but the Phoenicians, masters of adaptation, turned even conquest into opportunity. They supplied the conquerors with ships, timber, and craftsmen. They navigated imperial politics as deftly as they navigated the sea. When Babylon replaced Assyria, they served Babylon. When Persia conquered Babylon, they sailed for Persia. They understood what others did not. Survival was not submission, but strategy. Under Persian rule, the Phoenician fleets became the backbone of the empire's navy. Their shipwrights designed vessels that carried Persian armies across the Aegean. Their sailors guided invasions toward Greece. Yet even as they served greater powers, their cities retained a degree of autonomy. Tyre remained rich and defiant, its harbors alive with trade. The Persians, wise in administration, knew better than to destroy the hands that built their ships. Then came the Greeks, heirs to Phoenician invention, yet competitors on the same sea. The alphabet that had once traveled westward returned eastward in the tongues of merchants and philosophers. Greek myths absorbed Phoenician elements, the goddess Europa, the prince Cadmus, even the idea of navigation as divine destiny. In time, their stories and gods would intertwine until the origins were forgotten, and the Phoenicians became shadows within their own legacy. But Tyre endured, the city on the sea, proud and impregnable. For centuries it withstood siege after siege, its walls rising from an island fortress just beyond the reach of armies. When Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon laid siege for 13 years, Tyre outlasted him. When Alexander the Great arrived in 332 BCE, he faced the same defiance. Only by building a causeway from the mainland did he finally take it, turning the island into a peninsula that still bears the mark of his ambition. Even in defeat, Tyre's resistance became legend, a testament to the resilience of a people who had lived too long with the sea to ever surrender easily. As centuries turned, Phoenicia's independence faded, but its influence deepened. Its artisans enriched empires that conquered it. Its sailors taught their conquerors the art of navigation. Its alphabet and trade routes continued to shape civilizations long after its political power dissolved. In the grand theater of history, the Phoenicians were never the conquerors in the spotlight, but they were the stage crew that built the world upon which empires performed. They carried grain for Egypt, cedar for Babylon, soldiers for Persia, and gold for Greece. Their hands moved the machinery of civilization, unseen, yet essential. To the very end, they remained what they had always been: masters of adaptation, interpreters between cultures, merchants of understanding. When Rome began its rise, it inherited not just the sea, but the pathways the Phoenicians had traced across it. The empire of the sword would follow the empire of the sail. Far to the west, beyond the sight of Tyre's fading towers, another city carried the flame. Carthage, the child of Phoenicia, rose where the desert meets the sea. Its harbors curved like twin crescents of steel. Its merchants ruled with the logic of trade, not tyranny. While its mother cities bowed to foreign empires, Carthage forged its own. The Phoenician spirit had not died. It had simply migrated. Carthage inherited the art of the sea and turned it into an art of power. Its fleets patrolled from Gibraltar to Sicily. Its merchants reached as far as the Atlantic coasts of Africa and Europe. They traded salt, gold, ivory, and tin, extending Phoenician routes beyond the known map. In every ship's wake, echoes of Tyre and Sidon lingered. The same language, the same gods, the same purple banners fluttering in the wind. But where the Phoenicians had sought connection, Carthage faced competition. The Greeks and later the Romans shared the sea, and commerce gave way to conflict. Still, Carthage's endurance was extraordinary. For centuries, It dominated Mediterranean trade, its wealth built on the same foundation as its ancestors: skill, trust, and relentless enterprise. Its harbor, an engineering marvel, could launch 200 warships in a single morning. Yet beneath the might of its navy, the pulse of Phoenicia still beat quietly. A reverence for the sea, a devotion to craft, an understanding that prosperity flows from exchange, not conquest. When the Romans came, Carthage resisted, as Tyre once had. The Punic Wars raged for over a century, a clash not just of armies, but of philosophies, between land and sea, conquest and commerce, empire and enterprise. In the end, Rome prevailed, and Carthage was burned to ash. The last great echo of Phoenicia fell silent. Yet even Rome, victorious, absorbed what Carthage had embodied: the art of seafaring, the networks of trade, the very spirit of the Mediterranean world. The Phoenicians disappeared, but their fingerprints remained everywhere. The alphabets of Greece and Rome, the maritime laws of later empires, the principles of trade and currency, all bore their influence. Even the very idea of the Mediterranean as a single, interconnected world was their creation. They had shown humanity that water could unite more powerfully than land could divide. Today, their ruins lie scattered along coasts. Broken walls at Tyre, sunken harbors at Sidon, weathered stones at Carthage. But their truest monuments are invisible: the alphabets that shape every language, the trade winds charted by mariners, the concept of connection itself. Every ship that sails for commerce, every letter written, every exchange across cultures traces its lineage to them. Their empire left no pyramids, no statues of gods, only roots, letters, and ideas. Yet in the quiet rhythm of waves lapping against ancient shores, the memory of their sails endures. For they understood more than any who came after that the sea is not a boundary but a bridge, the endless road upon which humanity first learned that the world could be one. And so the Phoenicians vanish not into oblivion, but into the bloodstream of civilization itself, unseen, yet forever present, moving still with every tide. The sea has always been a mirror of time, forever shifting, forever returning. As the waves rise and fall upon the ruins of Tyre and Sidon, the story of the Phoenicians stirs once more beneath the surface. They were never a people of monuments or manifestos, but of movement, of journeys that turned the unknown into the familiar. Their ships have long vanished, their languages faded into silence, yet the currents they once charted still pulse through the veins of our world. The alphabet they conceived became the script of civilization. The trade routes they opened became the arteries of history. Even as their names were forgotten, their influence became the invisible structure upon which empires would later build. To understand the Phoenicians is to understand the sea itself. Restless, elusive, eternal, they lived by its rhythm and thought with its logic. The ocean taught them resilience. That strength is found not in resistance, but in adaptation, not in walls, but in waves. Where others built kingdoms of stone, they built connections that outlasted stone. They proved that power need not roar to endure. It can whisper in the language of exchange and discovery. Their greatness was measured not in conquest, but in curiosity. They did not seek to dominate the world. They sought to know it, to traverse it, to bring its distant parts into harmony. Every voyage was an act of faith. Faith that the horizon held opportunity, that the unknown could be reached and understood. In an age when the world was a mosaic of isolated realms, they made it whole. They were the first to truly live globally, centuries before the word had meaning. And yet, like all who live by the sea, their fate was to be carried away by it. One by one, their cities fell to the tides of empire: Assyrian, Babylonian, Persian, Greek, Roman. Carthage, their proud daughter, burned until only salt remained. But the end of their cities was not the end of their spirit. It drifted into other cultures, took root in new lands, and endured in every language that flowed from their alphabet, in every ship that followed their wake. The Phoenicians disappeared as individuals but survived as inheritance. They became not a people of one nation, but a people of the world. Today, when ships cross the same waters they once sailed, they follow invisible paths, first drawn by Phoenician hands. When letters form words and words form stories, they echo an invention born in their harbors. When trade connects nations across oceans, it reenacts the ancient faith of those who believed that the sea was not an abyss, but a road. Their story reminds us that human progress is not the tale of destruction, but of connection, of courage carried by curiosity. Perhaps that is why they remain elusive in the annals of history. Theirs was not a story that shouted, but one that whispered across time, through the gentle rhythm of the tide, through the quiet persistence of exchange, through the unseen bonds that hold humanity together. They did not seek glory, yet they left behind the foundations of civilization. They did not seek eternity, yet they achieved it in the most profound way possible, by teaching us how to reach one another across the vastness of the world. And so, as the sun sets over the Mediterranean gilding the sea, with the same purple hue once drawn from its depths, we can almost imagine their ships upon the horizon, silent silhouettes gliding into the glow of eternity. The wind carries their memory, the water bears their legacy. They were the Phoenicians, sailors, traders, inventors, and dreamers, the forgotten masters of the sea, whose empire left no boundaries on the map, only ripples that continue to move through time itself. For in the end, every wave that touches every shore still carries a fragment of their story, a story not of conquest, but of connection, not of power, but of purpose, not of domination, but of discovery. And through that story, the sea still speaks their name.